expenditure hardly by comparison to pump water that's already cold
Yeah.
to distribute it as district cooling, very well proven. Who is doing it? Cornell University cools the whole campus from deep water from the Finger Lakes, the Finger Lake that it sits on, and they cool the whole campus with a district cooling with deep water cold from the lake. It's a deep lakes, Finger Lakes. The ocean is cold. All of our coastal cities can be cooling. Recently, some of the service centers of the big tech companies, their service center hubs, right? They generate a lot of heat from their computer servers, right? And they're beginning to say, oh, we can cool these with water from the ocean. Yes, of course you can. You can get rid of heat, and that's what we should be doing with our buildings. We should be having the use of ambient energy to cool. But of course, the utilities might say, oh, no, no, because half of their income is related to air conditioning. And you could say, well, wait a minute, we shouldn't be doing that. We can do it for far less, 1/50th of the cost, 50 times. So half of the grid, basically, energy. So you can then shut down your nuclear, you shut down your coal, you can more easily convert to electric. And remember that the pumping for air conditioning, the campus of Arizona State University uses ice and cold water that they form off peak at night, right? And then they cool during the day with a district cooling system for the campus, Arizona State. Okay, so talk with Cornell, talk with Arizona State. I'm an inventor, right? I'm not a scientist. I'm not an engineer, but we have to apply common sense to get out of our
That's right.
problems.
Common sense.
The engineers are using brute force ways of dealing with our issues, and that is what got us into the problems.
Yeah.
I work with nature, right?
Yeah.
I'm working with nature. We haven't explained how the cooling actually works inside the environment, but the plants do the job.
Yeah.
The plants do the cooling.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Paul, I'll ask you a question, Daniel too. Do you know that plants have a normal temperature?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever thought about the temperature of a plant?
Yeah.
Yes,
I guess I would
because
assume so. Yes.
And you know why?
I think about it. I think about it a lot with maple tapping. We're doing maple tapping right now here on the property, and
what is the temperature? What is the temperature of a plant? If you use one of those ones you look in your, the radiant thermometer. If you point it at a plant leaf, what do you think the temperature will be?
it depends on the.
Similar to the radiant heat. I mean, it would be basically reflect whatever it's.
So basically, you're saying you don't know what the temperature is.
No, I don't. And you wouldn't necessarily
Okay.
be able to get the temperature from the outside of the leaf
not to
bird.
embarrass you. Yeah. I ask everybody. I have
Good question.
PhD horticulture.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question,
Yeah,
but
yes.
I think that the internal core temperature of the tree would be different than the leaf.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's like trying to get in. You're getting lost in the weeds. It's a simple question. We have a body temperature, right?
Yeah.
Because we're a living being.
Yeah.
And our metabolism determines our body temperature. And we think, well,
And our
maybe
temperature's
the plant temperature.
It's steady.
taken from under our tongue.
Oh,
Well,
let
whatever.
me solve the mistake. A plant temperature is what we call comfort temperature,
That's right.
right? That is about 20 to 24 degrees C.
Yeah.
About 72 Fahrenheit. That is the leaf temperature.
Yeah.
Right? And it's metabolism driven, it doesn't change.
Yeah.
The plants want to have a metabolism, a steady state equilibrium temperature.
Yeah.
Now there are plants that are more adapted to temperature changes, like desert plants. They have thick leaves to have more heat capacitance in the leaf itself, right? So the leaf is actually like a little thermal battery in itself.
That's right.
Plants regulate their leaf temperature by transpiration.
That's right.
Which is a form is a form of evaporation, but it's not related to evaporation. It's kind of like it's phase change, right? It's going
phase
from
change,
liquid to vapor.
Latent heat. Yeah.
So the plants are able, like you've been on a hot pavement or hot sand, bare feet. You want to get to the grass. You want to get to the cool grass. Well, they're both in the same temperature. They're both in the same temperature, both in the same sunlight. Why is the one cool and the other one is hot? Why is the roof of your car so hot? You know, you cook an egg on it, as they say. You get in the car and you think, wow, gosh, I can't even want to.
Because there's water circulating through it.
Yeah, water. Water.
On the plant, in the case of the plants, yes.
Yeah, it's the water, and what it is the phase change of
phase
water.
Change.
So what the leaf is doing is like boiling water. The rate of the leaf can push out water at a rate that's similar to boiling water.
Yeah.
But it does it at room temperature, which is weird, right?
Yeah.
So it's a very energetic thing going on because the radiation of the sun is very strong.
Yeah.
And the leaf is receiving that.
Yeah.
And what it doesn't use for photosynthesis, it has to get rid of. And it produces the transpiration.
Right. Yeah. Phase change.
Yeah, Aubrey has the diagram up here. So we did this graphic.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, transpiration. Latent heat. If you look at the curve, right, a temperature curve of the water, right, phase change, you know, right, the ice, the liquid, and the steam, you know what we're talking about, right? The latent heat is extremely huge, and without changing temperature, you know, that when you have phase change, right, the temperature stays steady.
For the cooling that drew from the lake for the university that you mentioned, is there a loss? Yep. Is there a loss to the water level in the lake, or is it basically a zero sum game?
Look, you're not consuming that water. It's a closed.
So it's a closed system. So so there's no water. Okay, so that would be a good sell.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why it's also like a siphon. What I'm saying is you can pump it up the coastal, you know, like people live close to the coastline, but you're going to have some lifting, right? Some kind of lifting, pumping requirement. But the situation is that you go up to where the heat exchanger is, you know, for the district cooling. Yeah. And then the water's falling back.
That's right, by salt, by gravity.
Yeah. So you see, you use the power of the siphon. The water that's falling is pumping the water up, right? Yeah. The water, falling water is lifting the other water. Yeah.
And there's no loss from evaporation within the system.
Yeah, that's right. Nothing is lost. There's no evaporation.
Yeah,
we're
closed
using
system.
The cooling energy in the water.
Yeah.
It's the cooling. It's the same thing you do at a power plant in a condenser. Yeah. You don't use the salt water. You're just flowing it through the condenser, transferring the heat of condensation for the power for the steam turbine, right? The steam turbine. Yeah. Now the difference is, you know, in the steam turbine, you can only get 1/3 energy out of the steam.
That's right.
Because 2/3 is in the condensation heat.
That's right.
That's the problem. 2/3 of the energy is going to end up in the condensation, the condenser. Yeah. In phase change energy.
That's right. Yeah.
It's unavoidable.
That's right.
That's why the energy efficiency is so low. Yeah. You know, 1/3 of the energy in a steam power plant, and that's all we have, right? Steam is the way we do energy conversion. Yeah. It's the practical way.
So the best process to do everything is to make it happen, right? The nature that does it all the time, right? Make everything happen at a low at a comfortable temperature. You know, that's the same situation in our body, right? Always steady. 38, 37, right, degree.
For any pod structure, then is it reliant on being close to a water source? In other words, if we're talking about trying to put a pod in Kenya, how do we deal with that?
let's talk about that. Okay. So what we do in that case is we put a quantity of water in the pot.
That's right.
We need a quantity of water. We can't deal with a bit of water. It's not like a throughput of water.
Right.
You have to charge the system with the water. Okay, see that the guy is standing on that box?
Yep. That's the water.
That box is full of water.
Yeah.
Approximately how much for a single tent? I mean, I know it varies. I'm
This
sure,
one is 4x4, the external, the exterior, the container. I mean, no, the heat storage zone is 2x2x1.
Yeah.
So roughly how
That's
many gallons?
meters. 2x2 meters. So we've got 4 cubic meters. It's be about 5 cubic yards.
Which is roughly how many gallons, just off the top of your head?
Gallons.
Okay, right. Let's see, per cubic foot, 64 pounds. You got 27 cubic feet per yard. 64 times 27. I'm just opening
64
the calculator.
times 7. About, you know, 450.
580.
Yeah.
64 times
400 gallons.
27
around there.
times 27 times 4. 5 times 5. So pounds, 8,600 pounds.
Gallons.
8,600 pounds. And
8,600 gallons?
Yeah, so 8,600 gallons.
8,600 gallons.
864 gallons.
Okay.
Yeah.
860.
Okay.
Yeah,
better.
yeah. That's
864 gallons of water we've got to get there.
Let's call it 800 gallons in that thing that he's standing on.
Mhm.
And if you go even a little bit deeper, like twice as deep, for example, then you could make it much more.
Yeah.
Now that's a quantity of water that will be your thermal flywheel
that's right.
for
You got
hot plates.
you also have the ground, you know, we haven't considered the ground, right?
Yeah.
The geothermal means, right, the steady temperature in the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, we plug into the ground to
Okay.
get the cooling energy. You know, there's a cooling energy from the ground itself,
That's right.
right?
Yeah.
But we also we emit the energy to the sky at night.
That's right.
In Kenya, in Mojave Desert, wherever we have this overwhelming, thermal rejection, heat rejection. We use the night sky to radiantly emit the temperature gain that we get in the daytime. So
Right.
we do have a temperature gain in the daytime,
Yeah.
but it's only going to change the temperature of our water thermal mass about 3 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe
That's right.
5
Not
at the
much.
max.
Yeah.
Right.
Does the
And then
reservoir
Does the reservoir
Does-
what? Yeah. Go
does
ahead.
the reservoir
yeah,
depth change depending on your frost layer, depending in northern areas? Like, if our frost line is 2.5, 3 feet underground, would the reservoir need to be at 4 feet to prevent a potential? What happens if the system freezes? Does the system freeze? And
No.
it doesn't freeze. And if it's ever that the system could freeze, we have backup for that, right?
Yeah.
And that means you're putting in a very small energy when you're at that kind of temperature to keep it from freezing, right? Because you're very well insulated. So you notice that the heat sink here, the reservoir, is in the middle, right? And all around it is insulating, like space. So that is what is protecting. So the ground itself is an insulator, to some degree, right?
Right.
And we can put insulation is a horizontal skirt around the thermal mass.
Yeah.
Now the structure itself is a horizontal insulating skirt, right?
Yeah.
So we get that much insulating space, right, from the cold earth. So frost penetrates from the sky from the air into the ground. And
Yep.
as long as you're protecting the ground from the air, then the ground right underneath the building never gets that cold,
No.
right? That's
Steady.
okay. The ground right under the building never gets that
Yeah.
cold.
So,
And
yeah.
our thermal mass, we're not trying to keep it hot. Remember that. We're not trying to keep it hot. We want it to be at about 12 degrees, 15 degrees.
Yeah.
That's C. That would be 55 degrees or so Fahrenheit,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And you know that Earth temperature is around 50
Yeah.
to 55 most places.
Yeah.
It can be warmer, it can be cooler
Yeah.
in some places, but let's say an average typical ground heat or ambient ground temperature
Yeah.
would be around 50 degrees. Sometimes you go deeper, it'll get warmer.
Yeah.
That's because of the Earth mantle. The Earth has a kind of general low
Yeah.
grade temperature in it.
Mhm.
But closer to the surfaces, we have the upper part of the Earth is typically around 50 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's right. And it's steady.
In the desert, you can measure that too. You can see that the surface of the desert changes temperature, goes up quite high, even close to like 100 degrees Fahrenheit or something. It can be
Yeah.
amazing the temperature you can get to.
Yeah.
But then at night, it can fall below freezing
Right.
because of the sky temperature. So
Yeah.
the sky temperature, so we talked about leaf temperature.
Yeah.
We talk about the earth temperature.
Yeah.
We should also know about the sky temperature.
Right.
So sky temperature is also a norm. There's a normal sky temperatures. Wherever there are forests, guess what the sky temperature is?
The forest. Yeah.
Yeah, wherever you have a large forest,
Oh,
guess
yeah.
what the
Wow.
sky temperature
Yeah. It's relatively cool. Depending.
Amazing.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
it's the same temperature as leaf temperature,
That's right.
right?
Yeah.
And you think that would be the way the plants would want it, right? Because they wouldn't want to have above them a terribly cold sky, right?
That's
Because plants don't like that. So how is it that above the forest that the sky temperature is around say 70 degrees Fahrenheit?
Yeah.
And it stays that temperature daytime and nighttime. It does vary a little bit, it gets a little cooler at night, gets maybe a little bit warmer in the day, but roughly it's around the same temperature
That's right.
as the leaf temperature.
Yeah.
And
Regulate.
how that works, the plants are putting the water vapor into the air, right? The transpiration.
That's right.
And water vapor is the main greenhouse gas. Water vapor.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when you get a cloudy skies, that it's warmer, right? It's always warmer. When you got a cold climate and the weather system comes in, it's going to warm up. Well, it's the sky has more humidity in it. When air is very cold, you look at the enthalpy chart, and it cannot contain water vapor. Cold air at zero, there's zero moisture in air. That's why when it's very cold, we get dry skin.
Yeah.
Because colder air holds no moisture.
That's right.
That's not entirely accurate.
Okay.
At negative
How would
10
you-
degrees and at 5 o'clock in the morning here in the Valley of Passaic, it will start
Yeah.
to snow with no clouds because the moisture is so high and the air is so cold that
Yeah.
ice crystals simply form out of the air.
That's right. That's another phase change.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's true, but let me modify that a little bit too to say, when you look on the enthalpy chart, you'll see the grams of moisture that can be in the air, and at that temperature, what you're seeing are little tiny diamonds of snow dust, and that's the little bit of moisture that's in the air crystallizing, coming out of the air, right? That's amazing.
Yes.
So that's how dry.
Well,
Air
It is
really
very dry, and there can be some amount of moisture still in the air. It's not nothing,
There
but
is.
it is something.
I don't say. I'm sorry. I didn't want to say it goes to zero, but look on the enthalpy chart, and you'll see that it's a tiny amount. So we call it relative humidity. So check out the relative humidity of air at 0 degrees.
Yeah.
All right.
Someone once told me that
see.
somebody once told me that, I was telling them how cold it was up here, and they're like, yeah, well, it doesn't snow once it gets below a certain temperature. And then I experienced
yeah,
it,
that's right.
and I was like, you're bullshit.
That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's why the far north, right? The far north is a desert. Actually, people don't understand that. You don't get a lot of snow in the north of Canada. You don't. That's another effect of global warming. Is we think, oh, there must be a lot of snow up there, but there is a lot of snow up there. That's part of the problem.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, as we get global warming, the snow, snow comes in the belts, right? In the belt where the snow falls, actually. And, Montreal can be just north of the belt, right? Sometimes we're in it, sometimes we're out of it. But if you go further north in Canada, you've got a lot of sunny skies in the winter. Sunny skies, dry weather. High pressure.
Yeah.
Cold, high pressure zone.
Anyway, we need to create a closed system, right? To mimic the atmosphere, because we have water and sun, right? That's what the nature is. So we use something like this to create a miniature, a control system, right? And we can simply use the solar energy and the water, right? Basically the sun and water, and then create a comfortable environment, local environment.
Yeah, that's it.
Very simple.
And so what Aubrey's pointing out here is that when we create this in a dome like this, right, or in whatever shape the structure is, but, this dome, what we have is a closed environment.
Right.
That means that we can contain the CO2 inside.
We
contain the moisture.
Yes.
The moisture in the air is not lost, right?
Yeah.
We don't ventilate to cool.
No.
We never ventilate. So, and in that way, it's like air conditioning, right?
Yeah.
Because when you're air conditioning, you shut the building, you close the doors, close the windows, and this is equivalent to air conditioning, what we're doing.
Right.
And Daniel, that's what I meant about this is so different than what you're familiar with, with passive greenhouses.
Yeah.
That we're actually in a level that makes those other systems really non-performing. You see that, they're actually, it's good for people to try, but to try and fail is not a good place to be. This is a system that when you try it, you're going to find out something quite miraculous.
Yeah, because it's not passive.
We're using water.
Yeah, it's not passive. We call it proactive, right? Yeah. When when you need to cool, right? And when you need to insulate. This is not rocket science.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to have.
So we always have pumps.
Yeah.
Daniel?
Yeah, we always have pumps in the system. When I was I did a lot with the National Research Council in Canada, and I was attached to passive solar because of my technology. My technology at the time, I have 6 patents on this. It was very commercial confidential, and I actually didn't share with the passive solar people, but I was in their group, so I would be called into assessment meetings, report meetings, so on. And sometimes people look at me and they kind of say, well, what are you doing? And I would say, well, I've got replaceable insulation for windows. And I say, but it's commercial confidential. I'm sorry, I can't tell you anything about it. But I would be in those meetings, right? And I would get along with those people. And one time they were saying they did a study of it was about a dozen passive homes in Canada. And they put temperature sensors, all through the homes, in thermal mass, in the air, in the building envelope, everywhere they put. And then they modeled what was going on, and they came to the conclusion most of these passive homes had some kind of rock bed or concrete. You know what I mean? The massive passive, right? That was the idea of passive design. And then when they got the thermal data, they were like, oh, wait a minute. The thermal mass isn't doing anything. It stays at the same temperature all the time. Only about half an inch of the surface changes temperature. The rest of the thermal mass is literally passive, like dead, right? Doing nothing. That's the problem. So, and they said, well, we put tons of thermal mass in these buildings, but they don't interact with the climate. They're disconnected, even with rock beds with air forced through them and stuff like that. They tried to assess the contribution to the thermal mass, and then extraction from the thermal mass. And I said, boy, thermodynamics just isn't working. So so I was in this report, and they were talking about the thermal mass, and we're saying, well, the thermal mass is not coupled. It's not well enough coupled to the controlled environment. It doesn't discharge, it doesn't charge, it doesn't discharge. And they said, and also it doesn't change temperature. So that's a problem. If you have a thermal mass, right, the idea is it's a flywheel, that it speeds up and then it slows down, right? It absorbs and then it releases. But the problem was it never sped up, it never slowed down, always at the same temperature. So I spoke up and I said, well, I have a thermal mass that warms up, the whole thermal mass warms up at the same temperature everywhere in the thermal mass, because they were looking only the outside edges, or if a rock bed, well, yeah, the air was changing temperature, but the rocks weren't changing temperature. So I said, but I have a thermal mass with 20,000 pounds in it, and the whole thing warms up at the same time and cools down at the same time. I said the whole thermal mass participates as a thermal flywheel. And they all looked at me and said, well, what could that be? They said, well, that's impossible. They said, look at the data. And I said, well, the thing is, my thermal mass is not a solid.
That's right.
It's a liquid.
Yeah.
We had a donation of 15 IBC totes at 300 gallons per tote to create our thermal mass.
That, you know what? That doesn't work either. Not very well. When I say we have a thermal mass as a liquid, that's part of the problem.
That's right.
You have that. But if you don't circulate, won't get that energy in or out of that thermal mass.
And
we also got 5,000 feet of PEX coil.
Where? In the ground? Or where is that?
It'll get wrapped around and inside of each of the IBC totes, like a big heating coil almost.
It's very hard to move liquid.
But where does it go? But when it goes outside, it
doesn't go outside. It goes into the greenhouse and circulates across the coil. Yeah, we have a solar collector that's going to be mounted on the top of the greenhouse.
And what system? You use liquid to collect?
But then you see what you're doing. What you're doing is you're trying to collect hot water, right? To put it into that.
Yep, that's correct.
That's the problem.
Well, that's not what we do. You see that we do something that's practically the reverse of that.
Yeah. The water is in a liquid form, hard to move, harder to move than air, than bubbles, right? So you do the comparison, you know the difference.
Fair.
Yeah.
So when people think of thermal masses, they think of warm thermal masses. I think of a cool thermal mass.
That's right.
Which are denser, right?
That's the difference, you see. And when you think about it, you want to keep a thermal mass energized. It's a lot easier to energize a cool thermal mass than a hot thermal mass, right?
Yes.
Energy wants to flow to a heat sink.
That's right.
So you create your thermal mass as a thermal sink. That's is key.
Yeah.
And the energy goes there
Yeah.
without any trouble whatever.
Yeah.
It just wants to.
Yeah. It's natural fall.
So let's go back to the picture of the dome, Aubrey. Let's go back to the pyrotent.
Pyrotent? Okay, sure.
Yeah, the pyrotent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So think of that dome, and you see where the thermal mass is, right? That's that reservoir in the center there.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you look at the cover system, which is a double layer. See that double layer?
Yeah.
And in between we have our soap and we have our water system.
Is there any residue from from the soap bubbles that
No.
cause any problems with transparency or anything like that?
No, there's no residue because we use a highly water soluble soap.
Yes,
Right.
it's
And
wet.
when you get a coating, coatings on a glazing come from non-soluble, like protein based
Yeah.
Okay.
surfactant. So you have many types of surfactants. Some of them are chemical, some of them are soap, some of them are protein based. The protein based surfactant lasts a long time.
Yeah.
So they use them for firefighting.
Yeah.
They use them for different types of high expansion foam. But we don't use that. We use common sodium lauryl sulfate
Yeah.
soap.
Yeah.
We put it about 1% to, well, 2%, maybe 2 to 3%, let's call it, in the liquid, right? So it's water with a small percent
Yeah.
of the concentrate, which is the sodium lauryl sulfate.
Yeah.
Then we can use a heat exchange of the soap liquid with a bigger liquid thermal mass, water thermal mass, right? But in small systems, you know, we might tend to think of it as one working system. Yeah, there's the.
This is the soap liquid. Yeah. You see?
So the soap liquid flows over the inside skin. This is in Norway. The soap liquid, you see it streaming over the in the inner skin of the structure. See, it's a tunnel. It's a tunnel structure.
Yeah.
And we're looking at that thin film. It's a thin film of soapy liquid, and it's flowing down the inside skin.
Yeah.
And that's how we capture the heat energy.
That's right.
Okay. The heat energy is captured by that thin film. What it's doing is it's controlling the temperature of the inside skin.
Yeah.
And what that does is attract the humidity, and it condenses there.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's how the energy goes from the interior space to the thermal mass space, right?
That's right.
So let's go back. Let's go back to the image of the pyrotin.
Yes.
So and let's look at how the inside skin is where the water is circulating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like yes, that's a good way to look. So the water is flowing down the inside skin, not from the peak, but from the bottom of the pyramid to the bottom. Yeah, from there down there.
Yeah.
And the flow of a thin liquid, and where does that liquid flow? Back to that central tank.
Yeah.
Right? Back there to that central tank.
Yeah.
So what's happening is during the day, the energy is coming inside the building, right? So we have the transparency of the building.
Yeah.
All the thermal energy and the solar energy, the visible and the infrared can enter the building through the transparent cover.
Yeah.
And what does it hit? It hits the leaf canopy. Now that's the thing, we don't have a leaf canopy in this image because we're just showing the structure, right?
Yeah.
But we're going to fill up this space with plants. Right?
That's right.
The plants will be filling this space.
Yeah.
So what happens is that the radiant energy is going to hit the leaf canopy.
Yeah.
And the leaf canopy will produce the transpired water vapor.
Yeah. Let's look at the other one.
The transpired water vapor will condense on that. So there we go. On the inside surface, you see where the water vapor is attracted. There's the condensation. And then we collect it, right? The condensation drips off as it flows down, and it drips, and we collect that separately, the condensation.
Yeah.
We're collecting that. In other words, while we operate during the day, while we're controlling the temperature, we're collecting the transpired water, and it's a lot of water.
It's clean water.
Because it's clean water.
Yeah.
And it represents all the waste in thermal energy of the sun, which is about half of the total energy. So we're going to collect about 1 pound of water per square foot.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times I'm in empirical. I'm kind of a part in metric, and I grew up with imperial, right? That's my age. I grew up with pounds and everything, so I'm still, kind of in that. So we collect a lot of this water, and that's where the energy is transforming. So the temperature inside the building is warmer
warmer.
than the thermal mass, right?
Yeah.
And that clean water is what, returned to the reservoir, or what's done with the clean water?
You can store it separately, or you can let it return to the aquaponic system. We suggest to use aquaponic because that increase the thermal mass, right?
Oh, I see. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But before it goes back to the plants, you can use it for drinking and eating and cooling and
whatever,
everything that you would like to do with it, washing, whatever. Now, the Space Administration, right, the NASA program and the CELS program, this is what they were working on.
Yeah.
But it's not only this. When you go into space, you have a completely closed environment in space. So you have to recycle all the water.
Everything.
And, you can put the, human beings, our waste, our piss, our
whatever.
our poop, it can all be returned into this living system of producing plants for food. Yeah. And the plants produce the oxygen and they consume the CO2. So you don't need a CO2 scrubber when you have the plants, because they'll consume it. They produce the food. We eat the food. Our water goes back in the system as gray water or black water. Yeah. Right. It all goes around the loop. So you have you have a closed loop with water. You have a closed loop with the carbon, with the photosynthesis in the loop, right? And the bacteria in that loop that break it down. You break it down into gases. You get biogas. So we get methane in an anaerobic, bacterial breaking down the organics. And we put that methane, we put it into a fuel cell. Yeah. And we get energy, and we get clean water, and we get high temperature heat. So it's a completely contained system. Oh, and we're also going to grow algae. Yeah. In the future, we're going to grow algae. So we're going to have all 5 kingdoms of life. The people can be the animals, but you can also have fish. Yeah. You could have chickens for eggs. Mm-hmm. Chickens are very good converters. Yeah. Fish are very good efficiency converters. Yeah. You could be vegan if you want to. You could be vegetarian. You could be piscitarian, or whatever they call that.
I'm afraid I have to step off. But thank you very much. I'll come back with more questions and things. But this is very interesting.
Yeah. Sure.
All right.
Okay.
Right. Very good, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Who's here? Sir. Oh, Sir Bailey's here. Sir Bailey's here. Ricky.
Hi.
And Daniel.
Sorry, I was late. I forget. I thought it was 1 p.m. the Canadian time, so I was thinking 11.
Well,
that's
okay.
Good. Good to see you all.
Ongoing, right? This is ongoing. In the future, it can be. Yeah. We can have a channel open all the time. Right? Anybody can come and chat. Yeah. So. Daniel, Shireen, and Paul. Yeah.
Well, Paul has dropped out, I think.
No, Paul is still there. Paul is pointing his camera to the roof.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to sign off. I've got to go and
sign off. Okay. You can either close the browser, or there's a button, if you
you can hang up,
There's a button.
Yeah, just touch the screen.
Or I can kick you out.
Can you? Because I'm hitting the browser and it's not affecting it. So if you can kick me off, that'd be great.
Okay, sure.
Okay,
let me
sure.
see how I do it. Oh. No, I cannot do that. You can do it because I'm not the host. Because Richard, you sign up first.
If you click on the screen, you'll find a hang up button, just like Zoom.
Yeah.
All right, I'll find it.
Yeah, you'll find it.
Maybe you're zoomed in. It's at the bottom of the screen. A typical hang up.
Let me see.
I've got one. Yeah. It's a bar. It's a bar across the bottom.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, because I'm not a host. That's why. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
we 4 people now only. Yeah.
So, Sir Bailey, have you looked at our Pyra tent?
I did see what you guys were showing today. It looks really good.
Yeah, that's the smallest, and that's also the easiest. Basically you can, any handy person can build without waiting for a manufacturer.
Yeah, that's the one I think really, really strong. Well, all of them are strong. I really like the Octa because it gives us that idea of the square and the circle.
Yeah. Sure.
Being uniform, working together, collaborating.
Sure.
And here you can still imagine the circle because of the round shape on the side.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But I love the fact that the inside, really looks like a really clear pyramid.
Yeah, and it's we open up. We have this. We call it the pyramid platinum, right? It's an open space. So and then we move the bubble generator on the ground, so much easier. We push, right? As the bubbles, right, the foam expand. It just expand up, right? And it's light, right, up, expand up, and then pull down, right?
And would it fill up the entire top space?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm gonna build, using just a simple what's it called? What's it called? A tent, right? It's a kind of conventional as a gazebo. Yeah, gazebo tent.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna test that. I mean, quickly. I can do it in a few days, right? If I have the bubble machine ready, and then wrap around, form the double layer curvature, right? And then I can literally, see, in reality, right, how the bubble foam expand and then circulate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the quickest way, right?
Yeah. We have another team that's going to be prototyping PyraTent as well in Budapest.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They want to do sharing, and
good
help the other teams, to build.
Yeah.
So that's something to keep in touch with, sir. I think that when we can see how they move forward with this, it's going to help other teams, to do their own prototyping. But see, what we're using is round tubing.
Yeah.
Remember, Richard, you met Brendan Wilson of Angel City Urban Farms. And so we have that space and really getting excited about getting started. Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's we can get going on it this week.
Is it possible? Are those people in Budapest? Are they started already?
Yeah. I was talking with them yesterday morning, and they have a site about an hour outside of the city, which is a farm. It's 20 acre, and they have a shop there. They have a team. They have about 6 people that are working together there, and they're going to form a cooperative locally with 3 high technology enterprise. They're small enterprise. One is in robotic, one is in sensors, and then there's another one in systems like this, like food and hydroponics and things like that, or aquaponics. So the three groups coming together to create a cooperative, and I've been thinking, why not? I think we could set up a cooperative in California, or let's say in the Southwest.
Certainly. I was going to say, do you think you could connect me with this group so we can start exchanging video.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then Aubrey. And then Aubrey, when will I'm sorry to rush. I have to get off. But Aubrey, then when will you start, Aubrey?
Well, I'm gonna start as soon as the ground is dry. You know, we have snow and rain.
Yeah.
So yeah. As soon as I can start, I'll start.
Okay. Dynamite.
I'm still in the middle of winter, sir. It is minus 10 Celsius here today.
Wow, that's super cold.
We've got lots of snow. We could still have lots of snow here in Montreal. So I'm gonna start in my backyard as soon as the spring is maybe April here. You know, it's sometime in April typically.
Do you have any ski areas near where you are, Mr. Nelson?
Oh, we sure do. North of us and south of us, we got lots of ski.
And do you know Stephanie Schuler?
Let's make an introduction.
Yeah. Do you know Stephanie Schuler?
No, I don't think I do.
Okay, I forgot. The Maui project works really closely with Lloyd on that, and so she's in that. I believe she's in Montreal also. Okay. So I was going to come up there and visit. And thank you guys for your time as always. I'm excited about getting connected with Budapest and Aubrey when you start. But since Budapest has started, Richard, if you can connect with me with them as soon as possible.
Yeah.
We're about to start a new trimester here. We have a couple of gardens with that are Angel City Urban Farm. And so with him having the back space and us having the thing, is like we want to capitalize on being able to let people see that it's beyond theory, it's in practice. And we can get started participating, watching Budapest. We would definitely share our videos and what we're doing. But if they've started, we want to get that connection.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's terrific.
All right, family.
Yeah, we'll certainly do that. Thanks for dropping in, sir.
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing this every Friday, just like an open house and a way to connect
open
people.
house.
Okay, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'll be inviting more students, and we're doing a planning meeting for Souls Are Soil. Rather than doing the Souls Are Soil Fellowship on Friday, we're just having a planning meeting Friday mornings and doing the actual presentation on Sundays.
Okay.
So I'll reach back out to you today, Richard, about coming in and perhaps showing a little bit of this on Sunday.
Okay. By the way, we are having a design session